Hello, I'm Angi Cooney. Welcome to part 2 of our podcast with David Mintz. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'm laughing because the same thing happened to me when I was doing it, because I did similar. I wish I had done the old, but anyway. But everyone knows me because they see me walking down the road talking about stuff. So
can I tell you the most famous bit of content we ever did was that there's a lollipop lady that has stood outside the same school. She's called Anne. She stood outside the same school for 50 years. She's done that job. And Nigel, my colleague, he just decided, he said, "Oh, I'm going to go and do a bit with her." And I was like, "All right." And he interviewed her, and the interview went a bit like this. "You all know Anne. You've driven past her a million times. She's helped your kids cross the road." And he sort of said, "We're going to get to know her." So he started to ask her questions. What is the happiest bit of your job? And she says, "It's the fact that I see the same people I crossed roads with 2 generations ago coming back with their grandkids to school." And, it's been her privilege to sort of keep
oh my God, I'm invested in Anne already.
But it went absolutely as close to viral as we could do in our area. And it was so relevant, and it's so real, and it's so authentic. So the message is, it doesn't matter what you put in front of people, as long as it's relevant to their lives, and as long as it's relevant to their areas. The stats and the data, we're blessed, we've got it. You can use it if that's what you think your audience want to hear. But very often, all they want to hear is, "This is Anne, the lollipop lady."
They love Anne and they remember Anne.
Yeah.
So I have to keep dragging you away
we'll
from you doing this
that.
sweeping your thingy under the carpet. So we've got we've got you in outside in coming out of the world of the pandemic. So still an agent.
Still an agent. We hit the ground running. We sold a tremendous amount of houses. Video was a big part of our life because we suddenly had to do it because not everybody could get out and view. And things were going well enough actually that I was able to sweep my issues back under the carpet, because you think, well, we're getting on. But then I suppose as things got back to normal, there were very clear things that had happened that kind of broken my focus on the business. And that's on me, no one else. It was the fact that my head had been turned by doing the content that I did with Simon. My head had been turned by the fact that actually I was speaking to the public a bit more, and that was interesting to me as well. And I'd also got to the point in the whole sort of agency thing where something had to break that now what moment of what do we do. And we decided that we were going to go our separate ways. That I would still consult to the business because that made sense, and a lot of the public still expected me to be there, and that's something that has kind of continued.
And you carried on doing.
Yeah, I still get phone calls today, and I think the reason I get phone calls today is, yes, you develop a bit of a track record and a reputation for selling properties, but if you're not visible to the public and you don't put yourself out there, that phone isn't going to ring.
No.
They will just stumble across you by accident. People will remember you, though, if you have been in their faces quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they might not like it. They may say, "Oh, he's too public," or
"Here we go again." Here they are. They can always swipe up. Swipe left, David. It depends what you're on, of course. The other day, when
I put that post out about that house, I got a text from somebody who said, "I don't know what you love more, that house, the local area that you represent, or yourself." But that's true to a certain extent. If you start to do that kind of content, you will fall into that trap sometimes of you do like hearing yourself on
I've only been trolled a couple of times on my Now What podcast, but I'm like, okay, well, that's your opinion and that's fine.
No, it's fine, and there's a grain of truth to all of these
there
things.
There is,
I think you need to have an ego if you're going to put yourself out there, but it is genuinely, it's the one thing that kind of keeps you in the heads of the audience for as long as you possibly can do.
Right. So you've left agency what year? When did you go?
Oh gosh.
So we're only in 2025 now.
Yeah. So it was only sort of 20. Was it 2021 or maybe something?
So 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
4 years ago, roughly. Yeah. So.
So the
A
impact
full-time agency.
See, what I'm very conscious of, David,
Yeah.
is the fact of, oh, here you are, Mr. Businessman.
Yeah. Am I?
There's another side of your life, isn't there, really? And that's your personal life.
Yeah.
So you've got how many children?
3.
So 3 children, wife,
Yes.
partner, wife, okay. So while all this was going on, was there that side of it when you were being Mr. Billy Big Bollocks and getting infamously famous?
There is as well. So I think, I mean, yeah, there's the harder part of it is if you keep putting yourself out there, I think you bore the other people in your life that may be inclined to be proud of you at first, but then it becomes a little bit much. So I can remember very distinctly dragging my wife along to some charity fundraiser, but it was like the 10th one we'd done that year or whatever, where I knew I was expected to be there and
to perform
effectively. And when people start referring to her as Mrs. David as opposed to, you know, she's an individual in her own right, I think that builds friction, absolutely rightly so. And I think it becomes very I think it becomes a bit of a bore for them, but also it can jade you in a relationship as well.
So did you recognise that, or were you on that crest of a wave of?
I am the great hindsight man, so I only see things in retrospect. No, but I think we did recognise it. I think you could feel it very often. That sometimes, you know, when you're getting a bit Billy Big Bollocks and it's gone to your head, you do sometimes need somebody to sort of just reset you and say, you know, you're not all that. Just calm down.
I think I used to have moments like that all through my life as an agent with having kids, because, you know, my kids always came a poor second and my husband a poor third, really. Because my clients and the estate agency and the business and staff all came first, and in any order at any one point. You know, so if I could retrospectively go back, would I change it? No, because I don't go back and regret things, because you can't. I would maybe change things differently, but you can't go back. But I think I could recognise the fact that, you know, we couldn't even go down the town, and we still can't, without everybody saying hello and me wanting to know all about them and actually not really giving a toss about what my husband was saying or my kids were saying. At that point, I would literally stop their conversation.
I had that moment with my daughter. We were in the hospital for a checkup, walking down a corridor, and some fella comes up to me and goes, "David?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, you don't know me, but I've watched all your videos. I saw you doing whatever." And I turned to my daughter afterwards and went, "Isn't that great?" And she just rolled her eyes and just went, you know, do you like saying hello to all these strangers and so on? So look, let's not overhype it. You're not a proper celeb, and it's not like everybody knows who you are.
No.
But if you're going to do that, you do have to learn to then sort of, that your family won't always appreciate it.
You do go down that rabbit hole, David, and you do become, not invincible is the wrong word, but you do feel a bit, don't you? It turns your head, and you're not a celebrity,
But it's nice when
but
people
feels
recognise
like it.
it.
Of course it is.
It's lovely now when I go to conferences and people
want to hug you.
You know, or where people walk past and say, "Oh, that's so and so from that podcast," or whatever it is. That's lovely, but it's not the be all and end all.
No.
Never forget who you are. I think that's.
So, have we done the circle of the business yet, or have you got another now whatty moment on that? Because then we're going to go to some other bits.
So I think there is a major now what moment. You can. So I decided then at whatever it was, 41, that I was going to basically alter my career path from knowing where I have to be every day and doing what I have to do to consulting to that business and working for Kerfuffle at the time. And that was a big, and it sounds great because you just, well, you've got something lined up, you walk out the door, but inevitably you find, you know, we were talking about grief earlier, and I asked you whether, you know, you can have grief for people, you can have grief for places, you can have grief for businesses. And I think getting out of a long-term relationship and a business like that after such a long time, I felt that I wasn't in the right place. So I wouldn't admit that to anybody. But the first morning afterwards, I was like, I've made a big mistake. I should be sat in that office right now answering phones.
I know it sounds mad. I'll tell you my, take it off you slightly, similar thing. I knew that I wouldn't be able to sit in the office that I'd gone into every day, routine, the office, the computer. So part of when I sold, I took the computer because I knew it and it was safe and it knew me and I know the keyboard, right? So then I realised to clunk around a Dell computer isn't practical. So I went and bought an Apple, I still don't know what they're called, iMac, whatever, right? And I learned, and I had to physically make myself, Tanya Cannon, who's a great agent, who's one of my friends, and Wendy Peterman, God love them, right? I'd meet up with them and I'd sit in one of their houses or in a cafe with this laptop on my lap, learning how to type because I couldn't quite understand. I know it's ridiculous, but I needed.
It's needed.
So mine now, what you know? Yeah, everybody saw this. Oh yeah, she's sold. It's this, it's that. It was awful, and the podcast really came from that moment of what you're saying.
So I still struggle with it a little bit.
I agree.
I absolutely love that business, and I think this is where you're coming from. I think if you're like us, and by that I mean you're totally invested in the businesses that you're in, both physically, emotionally. I think that you know, if you cut me, I will bleed normie. That's the whole thing.
But in terms of, I mean, how old are you?
45 now.
So remember, I've got 15 years on you.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I needed to get out because I realised I would pass a sell-by date.
Yeah.
And what I didn't want to be, and I mentioned this yesterday, the old duff sat in the corner, not bringing anything at all to that table because the space of the industry that I was in was changing rapidly and still is changing rapidly. And although I'm okay with it, I can't even say the word without going Apple, Mac. I can't even do all of that. You know, when I have to set things up, I'm clueless.
Yeah.
I try. But I'm 60, I'm not infallible. You're only 45, so you've made the decision to jump that moment.
But even at 45, that is a hard thing it's not a simple jump. So what I would say to people is that kind of now what moment is, yes, I think there's always room for you to reevaluate your career and your skills and to change track. And I would encourage you to explore doing it, but don't think it's going to be easy.
No, it's not.
You are going to go through periods where you will sit awake at night, as I still do at some moments, going, have I made a mistake? I should be back there doing that right now.
No one can do better than you. If you'd have gone to that house, it wouldn't have gone to Joe up the road.
But it's all those sorts of things where I think if over the years you've got used to playing a certain role and a certain character, all of a sudden somebody tells you you've got to go and do something else, or you've decided you're going to go and do something else. Just don't expect for that change to flow simply. It's not easy.
Did you listen to the podcast with somebody called Helen Jenkinson, who was the nurse?
I didn't catch that.
So that's my second one, and she was the lead for COVID for the West Midlands. And that was her now what moment. She's 50, I think she's 55, whatever. And her now what moment came from that. But again, she's the one who started me off and actually recognised within me, because obviously it literally stopped overnight. She lives near me, so she's the one who said, actually, I'm going to come for a coffee because you've just told me you've hoovered your house 3 times this morning. It was routine. So she's the one who sort of recognised that within me without me recognising it myself. Yeah. But I think you have to allow yourself to grieve for that. So, okay, so we're there. And this is the space you're in business-wise now. Normie?
So, so normie, I run a housing association as well, which is something that started as a voluntary role, and I kind of branched out a bit more into that, but it's a small housing association in Manchester. It's very niche. We serve a niche community, but it's charitable, and it's lovely to be able to take your property skills and use them for good for once, you know.
Of course.
But for social good, and then there's kerfuffle, which has been, you know, one of the other loves of my life, and that's a complicated relationship in itself.
It is a complicated relationship, and I'm sure at some point in time there'll be another now what moment.
Well, we're on the cusp of one at the moment, so I think what has occurred to me is that I think if we look at what happened with the business, and I said that, you know, I decided it's never too late to learn new skills and to do different things. So one of the skills that I'd obviously added to my kind of portfolio was, yes, presenting and talking and interviewing people, which I think is still something I really enjoy doing. I enjoy doing it whether it's live at conferences or recorded. I could do it on Zoom. I could do it like this. It's great. And I enjoy that. But one of the other things that I kind of worked out that I really love doing, which I never thought I would do, is training people in a sort of coaching capacity to sort of say, look, you know, my view on training is most of us who've worked in the industry for as long as we have, we don't like being trained. We don't like it when somebody comes in and goes,
it's a bit like being sold to, mate, isn't it?
Everything you know is wrong, and I'm going to teach you the right way to do it. I don't believe in that. I think it's all about resetting with people. It's about reminding them of what they did love about that job and helping them to kind of rediscover that, but also to realize that the challenges you go through and that feeling of being jaded, where we all we hit a brick wall, is not only natural, but it's also something that we should anticipate and almost welcome, because that's your point to go.
It's your growth, isn't it?
We reset, and you look at your, I think, and you were talking to Nigel.
Nigel, I'm glad you brought him up, because I've actually analysed you as an animal. So let's just, I was talking to Nigel.
But Nigel and I are on very similar paths with that. But I think what Nigel will tell you is that, you know, and I always use this analogy when we're training, but when they're training pilots to fly planes, there will be a point at which they will not be able to see anything through the windows, and they won't know what's going on, and they won't know whether they're upside down or headed in the right direction, if they're high or they're low, because you won't be able to see anything that gives you any kind of clue of where you are. And what they'll tell the pilot is, look at your instruments. So you calm down, you stop looking out the window, and you start to look on the things that you can rely on and that you can see, and then you work out where you are and you regain control of the aircraft. It's the same in your life. There'll be times at which you will not be able to see the lie of the land. You won't know what's coming tomorrow. No. But there are certain things that you can control, and they tend to be in agency, they tend to be the basics. So we go back to basics, we kind of reset, we look at the things that you absolutely do know that you do really well. Yeah. And then the rest will clear up. So
Wow. So let's go back. Let's do our animal now, and then we're going to talk about you as a person. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, fine.
So, knowing the Nigel Risner's analogy of animals, this is where I think you are.
Yeah.
And you can tell me whether you can identify with this. I think that you are part elephant, part dolphin. Okay. And let me tell you why I think this. The elephant is careful, structured, detailed, reliable. Okay? The dolphin, remember, I think you're a mixed both.
Yeah.
The dolphin, which is the bit that we haven't even scratched on at this point, is caring, empathetic, kind, intuitive, and emotionally intelligent. And with that, smart, thoughtful, which is the highly intelligent part, open, puts others' needs first, and seek harmony. And I actually think that that's you in a nutshell.
Okay, that's very
because
nice.
I've tried to, with all of my guests, and as you know, I send you a little thing saying, you tell me a little bit about yourself, and then with yours, went with me.
Yeah.
Right? But I looked and thought, what do I know of him, and but I do truly believe you are both of them.
So probably you're certainly right. I think maybe with the dolphin side of things, I think with the elephant side of things, I am the elephant, but I maybe only have 3 legs. I'm not quite as structured and as stable as I need to be. I suffer with undiagnosed, but I am looking into that now. But I'm very ADHD. I can jump from one thing to another all the time.
Superpower, mate.
And it is. It makes me able to be creative. It's what feeds my ability to do different things and to juggle 3 different hats at the same time. And people say, well, how do you fit it in and all that sort of stuff? I can do that. But it also, as a byproduct of that, it makes me perhaps less consistent than I want to be. I don't always carry projects all the way through to completion. So that's that elephant stability. Sometimes there's a part of it that gets a bit wobbly. But
so you're anchoring to that, though.
I do. Yeah, no, that's yeah.
I'd like to.
Accurate.
No, I think I'm fairly accurate. So I'll try and I will always study my subject matter. So what I'd like to do is actually go to a part of your family now, if that's okay.
Sure.
So you have 3 children.
I do.
Can we talk about your children?
So I have 3 beautiful children, wonderful children. They're all very different in their own way. So I've got my eldest is Ali. She's 18, and she is very artistic. She's just started doing art at uni, and that started this year. And I cannot believe I'm old enough to have a kid that is.
You want to try having a 28-year-old?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of hits you very. I can remember just changing a nappy 10 minutes ago, and all of a sudden she's in uni. And then my middle one is Gav. He's 15, also creative, also very artistic, and so on, which is great, but all very different personalities. My youngest, Naomi, is an absolute force of nature. She is a very tough, headstrong kid who at the moment is unfortunately going through a lot of turmoil herself in terms of challenges that she's got, and I think she taught me more about being a parent than the other 2, only because it's a pleasure to be a parent of children that are always well presented and well behaved and performing tricks for everybody. But there will be times in your life where it'll throw you a curveball, and there are things that just aren't in the parenting manual. They don't warn you that there are going to be moments where you feel utterly helpless and you don't know what's going to hit you. And I think at several periods in her life, because she's not always enjoyed the best of health, that has been the challenge for us. And at the moment, we're right in the eye of the storm with that. Yeah.
So how do you... So you're now what moments with Naomi then?
Yeah.
Are presumably a moving feast. So do you not know on any one day where we're going to be with that?
So feast being the operative word, I mean, I'll talk about it because I think it's probably relevant. She, at the moment, suffers with quite a severe eating disorder.
Yeah.
And all our focus is on trying to get her better, but it's also trying to feed your kid. Literally just the basics of parenthood. If you don't do anything well, you need to do at least one thing, which is keep them fed. And we're failing at that, even though we're trying, very hard. And that can be, I think, the biggest eye opener for me. And I realized this. I was listening to your podcast, and I was listening to an episode you did with Ollie.
Yeah.
And you've got people who are talking about experiences and Steve with cancer and things like that. I think that where we are is we all talk about mental health quite a bit, but we don't actually sometimes appreciate that mental health can put as much strain on a family as severe physical health can. And so, yes, it's not cancer, and yes, it's not a stage 4 diagnosis, but it will still have the same stresses. It will take up the same mental space. You will feel like you need support. The families need support. The actual people that are going through it. And with mental health sometimes, because it's kind of all up there, and you just feel that if they could just flick a switch and be a different person tomorrow, but they can't help it, they can't control it. And so I think it in many ways, you know, I hear Ben talking about dementia as well. When you're dealing with the mental health of a loved one, because the person that you love is changing before your very eyes, it's almost like you're losing them whilst they're still alive and with you. And so you're going through so many different things at the same time. And a part of it's grief, because even though that person is alive and well, they're not the same person that you knew sort of 6 months ago.
And it's
you're
very
having to adapt to
difficult.
that. It's really, really
when
difficult.
it's a child.
Yeah.
When you are
So
the
difficult.
protector and everything. And I know that there are various forms of everything going on, and it's still a diagnosis that you have no idea how to control, and neither does she.
No, and it's put strain on our lives, because we don't know as a family where we're going. You put certain business plans that you had on hold because you just don't have the it takes away that, not the ambition, but it takes away your, you know, there are times where you feel brave and fearless to be able to go and do new things. You can't do that as much because you need to be anchored around, and you need something safe.
The problem is particularly if you're somebody like you that has this persona on the out, that everybody thinks they know you, everybody thinks they know a bit of you, but actually there's a whole gamut of emotions even while you're sat there, because we don't know what's going on behind.
And I think the people that thought they knew me really well are also finding out that there are bits of me that are falling off as we go through this. So for argument's sake, and I don't know why I do this, but I do. And so apologies to anyone that's been affected by it. But I have friends of mine that I have been in touch with for years, through thick and thin, who all of a sudden I have just completely disconnected from.
Yeah.
Almost stopped talking to them. They've stopped, you know, it's also got to the point where they've stopped checking in because I'm not giving back anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I feel so bad about that. I was thinking about it on the way up here this morning. I feel so bad about that. But the reason I do that is it's almost like a self-protection mechanism. I try and sort of shut everything out because I think that I need quiet. And what I've done is I've ended up shutting out friends who, and loved ones who are so dear to me. And I wish with anything that I can go back to them and sort of say, listen, you need to understand it from my perspective, but I also understand from their perspective why actually it's not okay to abandon everybody when you're going through a hard time. But we all have different ways of handling things, so I think you've just got to...
I think it's also a self-preservation thing.
It is.
Particularly if you are that way inclined, because you will reflect inwards, I know you do, and you analyse and everything else, but you will... I get it, it's grieving, but you're grieving for... God, there are so many things, there are so many levels of everything of complication here, isn't there?
Yeah.
But and there are no words, there are no right words, you're just trying to get through.
Just trying to get through it. And I think one of the things is that with me is because I've always been the one that looks after other people.
You're a bit like Ollie.
Yeah.
You're the man, aren't you? You're the protector, you're supposed to be.
I like to think that I'm the one that's, you know, that they should call me when they're having a hard time, and I'll pick them up rather than me, you know, having to be the one that needs their help at this
Problem
time.
is, David, that wasn't the role that you set out in your life to be. So actually the people that will... I remember a conversation you and I had.
Yeah.
And I consider you a friend, but don't particularly know you very well. You can just tell.
Yeah.
But maybe the people that are in it and with you, and your role for them is very different from your role with me. Yeah. So I could see, as people who are in you on a certain period of your life can see there's something changing and not quite sure.
So I'll out you on your own podcast. Andy Cooney is a witch, let me tell you. I remember this as a micro kind of what now moment.
Now what moment.
What next moment. how are we going to...
So what?
So what moment? But we bumped into each other probably a couple of years ago at Property Mart 1 in London.
Yeah.
And you came up to me and you we did that whole thing that we all give each other sweaty hugs because those places have got no oxygen and we're all really hot. And you said to me, you didn't even say, are you okay? You said, you're not okay. And I was like, and it was only afterwards, I came away from the conference and somebody said, how was it? I was like, I bumped into Angi today. And she said, I wasn't right. Am I not all right? But you were bang on the money. I wasn't all right.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of just burying it beneath the surface. So I do that a lot. And I will not be able sometimes to express myself emotionally with other people as well as I should do, or be as honest about
But when
my
you go
emotions.
back to how it's affected you and your relationships with people, because you were the same, I'll use it in these terms, it's any words I've got in my head, because you were their saviour, you're their rock, you're the person that they cling to.
Yeah.
You're the one who throws the life jackets out to everybody. You are that rock, aren't you?
Yeah.
And actually the rocks sometimes sink.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what I think was happening. I actually don't get that now, David, if I'm honest. I think that you are in a very different place. But knowing what Naomi is going through with your family, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because there are people today who will be going through something similar with their child and not knowing. So if it's not too painful, and we can cut this out if you want to, where were the... well, I'm also conscious she's 15 and she'll look at this. 13, and we'll look at this maybe.
She'll look at this and
go, why did you out me out then?
It's a cringe fest. So that's what she'll say. But
yeah, but I tell you not, I think that's an intelligent girl there, and I'd love to have her on here to tell me her part.
If she spoke openly and honestly, it'd be very interesting.
Yeah. So she's not here. I haven't got the benefit of that. So as a parent then, let's still put it in your shoes, because we can't put words in your mouth of her. So as a parent, signs, were there signs out there?
There probably were signs. Yeah, there are signs. And I think that I think one thing that we do as parents, but also as humans, is that we initially we downplay everything. We hope for the best. So you don't see catastrophe at the beginning. You see, hang on, this is somebody that's being a little bit difficult, or perhaps acting out. So the kids, very often when they're going through a tough time, it won't manifest in any kind of physical symptoms, but the first sign of it will be that they are acting in a way that you just think is absolutely despicable. But actually,
you'd gone through an 18-year-old and a 17. Gav's 17.
Yeah, Gav is 15,
so you'd gone through
50,
that. So you would have, you'd have gone through that. Oh, here they go.
Yeah.
Thinking it was that stage. How old was she, David, when? So
I mean, she's, we've had a few bouts of this. We're in the toughest one now. She, it's interesting that she suffers from a nut allergy. So she's one of these kids that's never been able to go to a party or a shop or a restaurant without thoroughly checking, does it contain nuts? And everywhere we go, we have to have the epi bag with us and all that sort of stuff. And she's been okay with it. But what they reckon is, and the experts have told us this, is that kids that have to go through regulating what they eat are actually more susceptible to eating disorders, because they realise very early on that is something that they can control. And when they're in emotional distress and their world is falling apart, they will grab the things that they think they can control, and that very often will be what they put inside their body. So really, for us, we've been through a couple of these bouts, but this one is the most severe, because we've seen a complete reversal from things that we thought were safe, and we were past it. It kind of got reversed.
Do you know the problem is, David, and I'm going to say this and you'll go, what? She's getting good at it as well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely.
She's good at it.
And that's a tough part of life as well, to realise actually the person you love is equally capable of lying to you or manipulating you, not necessarily because they're evil and they want to lie and manipulate, but it's because that is what the voice
She's not
in
evil.
their head is doing.
Okay, she loves you, you love her. She loves her family, but she can't see out of it at the moment.
Yeah.
And what you've got to be is the pilot, isn't it?
So it's tough, but there are no. Do you know what? There's no. You can talk to people about it. So I've kind of stopped. So although in a weird way, I've kind of cut out some people who are very close to me, but now when total strangers say, "So how are you doing?" I always considered it the height of rudeness to actually tell people how you're doing, and that I hated people who said, "Oh yeah, let me tell you what's going on in my life." But I'll actually stop and say, "Actually, no, things are not okay."
But I think, you know, all this, God, what did they say? It's okay not to be okay. And all the things that they say, it's true. Because before we came on air, you asked me how I was. And that sort of went, well, actually, but you'd have asked me that a couple of weeks ago. Very different place.
Yeah.
But I could, but like anything, this too will pass. And you have to just find the inner strength, going back to what you talked about before. But what you've got, how Naomi is having to deal with it is all of a sudden she's got to find that place, and it's how you navigate her to that place.
It's I think it probably on her behalf take extreme bravery to challenge the things that are in her head, to challenge the voices that she hears and she feels as being very strong, and it's a scary place, and you know, very often your parents as well, although they love you and they mean well, they don't have the answers, and they can't. You get to that point in your life as well. You know, I said, but every now what moment has that no one's coming to save you bit.
Yeah.
Those are the realizations in life that make you understand that even parents don't always know how to save
Parents
their kids.
don't know.
Well, very often they don't.
But they
The
don't.
older
They
you
don't.
get.
Particularly in things like that, you know, and you know, and I know, and you've spoken to enough professionals, presumably, is that you have to just let her go through this process.
Yeah.
And then it is a process. And you hope and pray to God or Allah or whatever anybody believes in, that she will come out the other end. But what the parents have to be is completely consistent.
Yeah, I think so. And it's hard. It's hard having your shit together sometimes as an adult. That's what they don't tell you, right? It's not always fun being an adult.
Yeah.
And the more and more kind of responsibility we heap on ourselves and the roles that we think we have to play, sometimes that all kind of just falls apart.
And getting back to men, because I'll try not to differentiate really between the man and the woman, but it's very difficult. Of course there are. I'll talk about Verona Frankish and you having a wee on the toilet she with. I know. If you look at the differences when you are supposed to be the man, the protector, it's very different. I can only speak as a mom perspective, but that's where the mental health of, not trying to take it away from Naomi, obviously, but for anybody listening out here who's in this position, and that's why people do what they do, because they cannot see an escape out.
They do. I think you kind of just revert to almost like the most basic instincts that you have to get through it.
Get through a day, even.
And for me, that can be, and for all of us, can sometimes be very, it could be very unhealthy stuff. So, for instance, I will overeat for England when I'm stressed, which is funny because my daughter's going through an eating disorder where she's not eating, but I'm making up for it by emptying the fridge every night. But I will, you know, there's been times in my life where I have either leaned on overeating or drugs or alcohol, whatever it is, to get through difficult moments. And it's funny that well, not funny, but you feel it at those moments where your world is collapsing. You just have this primal instinct to just revert to type and to go, and you ignore all the sensible stuff that you know, and you go, yes, I'm going to do that tonight because that's going to make me feel good. So luckily it's not the drugs and the alcohol this time.
Not today.
It's a fair bit of eating.
Not today.
Yeah.
So you're now, what moment is you're living this at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah,
Let's face it.
I suppose I am on a personal level, and it's kind of made me have a new You know, I actually thought that I was getting a bit sick of people papping on about mental health. Everyone's got mental health. It's a good excuse for this and it's that and the other. And we've got different groups that help us to talk about it and stuff. And I was getting to the point at which I'm like, oh, this is a bit old hat now, and can we all just drop it? But actually, I've seen a new side.
See, I just think, David, there is a voice for you to do now. I think that you are changing, and without you realising, or maybe you do, and this is wise old sage Angi Cooney here, I think there is a platform, which I hate saying that word, there is a role for you to play in getting this out, for dealing with particularly the parent role.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I hope that over time also can just help people to tell in the way that you're doing now.
I know.
Just that if you can help people to tell their story and get their truth out there as well a little bit.
So would you be adverse to, if somebody is listening, watching out there now that is going through similar, or they think it's similar, could they reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you say that to your camera?
With pleasure. You can reach out to me about anything, but in particular about these things. Look, I think we all have got things that we know about, things that we've learned, and life experiences that we can share with other people. It doesn't mean that we've got the answers, but what it does mean is we can occasionally just put our hand on your shoulder and go, it's okay.
But that's exactly what I think that you do, and by you helping, and this podcast will do, is just maybe the saddle that you've got on your back can just be lifted up, even if it's for
just a bit, for a minute,
a little minute, just give you a breather, which is what you and I had that moment, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think by recognising, and if I'm putting your words in your mouth, I'm sorry, but I think that at that point, you, maybe not that point, so I'm not that beginning, but by realising that actually people could see it, it began to change how you...
Yeah, I think if you can identify it, we can talk about it. It doesn't make it as hard, because it's not a thing that lives in your head anymore, and it's a thing that lives with all of us.
Real.
And I think that's one of the biggest battles that I think we all have, is against the silliness in our head. Sometimes our brains are just our worst enemies.
They are.
And if you are able to verbalize it, if you're able to speak to somebody about it, that's the first step on that journey to, I mean, that's what therapy is in its sense.
It is,
isn't
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
really?
The thing is with mental health is, you're quite right, everybody's jumped on it and they talk about it, but it's important.
Yeah, it's not, like I've found more recently, it's not given because it doesn't feel as severe. And we sometimes, you know, if you want to be cynical about mental health, they're putting it on, it's in their head, and and they can just, you know, if you're depressed, you'll just walk it off and you'll be okay. But for anybody that kind of sees somebody transformed by poor mental health, and sees the pressure that it puts on siblings, it puts on parents,
marriage.
It puts on marriages, it puts on working relationships, and how much more work can I miss? You know, can I do this now today, talking to you, without somebody saying, oh, well, you've got time to speak to her about that, but you haven't been able to do this, that, and the other. Yeah. So there are all these things that kind of live in your head, and I think they're all things that we struggle with, and if we share them, you feel a bit lighter.
Thank you. Thank you for being candid and honest, and I really wish you and your family a healthy going forward for 2026.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I really hope that you got something out of this. If there's anything at all that you are affected by listening to this podcast, and you just like to reach out to anybody, me, David, or anybody at all, please feel free. Thank you for watching. And again, if you like it, please subscribe and tell your friends.